Welcome everyone. It's nice to have you back. I'm Kelly Moore with the Missoula County Extension Office, and we are doing our monthly cooking demonstration. So today we're going to talk about some fast and inexpensive ways to celebrate Thanksgiving. Things are going to be a little different this year with maybe availability of things you're used to having, and maybe it's just your year to kind of cut back and say, let's make it more simple. Now that we've lived through the worst of COVID, hopefully, we're just kind of looking at things a little differently, and now it's more important to get together and not have so much of the other things to worry about. So we have 3 different things we're going to focus on today: an appetizer, a main dish, and a dessert. So we'll kind of walk you through all of these, and we'll talk about the cost saving and also the time saving part of each one of these. So obviously our first option here is an appetizer. This is a fun idea, and of course you've probably seen this on Pinterest. What does Pinterest not have? But you can make this your own by adding different things to it. I would just suggest maybe using a larger pumpkin. I have a lot of pie pumpkins, so that's what I used, and he's not standing up on his own very well. So I just used this is the bottom of the pumpkin, and of course you can make this your own too. There's a little bit of red pepper for the feet. This is a pear, a Bosque pear, so that's where you get that color, a little more like a real turkey. Some dried cranberries or cherries for the eyes, a little lemon peel, and more red pepper there. These can be one of your best friends when you're thinking about doing something a little different and something that kids love to do. These are very sharp on the ends, so of course it might be better for a little bit older kids. But I just thought it'd be a nice way to do appetizers, a little bit different, and again, it gives the kids something to do before the main event. To get the holes in here, I just used a little bit of a jewelry hammer, so it's not a giant hammer. You can make some little bit smaller movements, because obviously if you pound on these too hard, they will crack. So just go through, drill your holes like you would like to have them, and then just start putting things on the skewers. Anything you want that you think would be appetizing for your guest. I've used every other one. I've done a fruit one, I did a vegetable one, and it's a little pepperoni on the top to kind of look like feathers. You say the kids love to stick things on sticks, and they are a little bit more prone to eat everything on the stick if you have that. Okay? These skewers are very inexpensive. I'm never without these because there's so many good uses for these. You can test a cake to see if it's done. What else you can do? Just a lot of different uses, and they are pretty cheap. Another thing I thought would be fun to use with the skewers, and this is another thing for kids. Kids tend to get a little restless. If you want everybody to kind of calm down a little bit before dinner or at dinner, give the kids more responsibilities, and it will be fun for them. So these are some turkey jokes, so you can just pass these around. The kids can pick one out, take this off, open it up, and if you just Google turkey or Thanksgiving jokes, you'll see a lot. What dance should everyone do on Thanksgiving? Which is probably pretty easy. The turkey trot, right? So they're not all terribly funny, but anyway, kids will love them. Okay, so you can do that as another idea. Also, when you're done with these and the skewers are eaten, again, if you got a pie pumpkin, open it up, could cook the pumpkin out of there and make something else with it. All right. These skewers can be washed up and used again too, or tossed out. So that is a great idea for an appetizer, a totally edible appetizer. So anything you can do to kind of keep everybody kind of calm and get started into the main dish, because that's what takes the most time. The main dish is something we always tend to kind of take more time than we thought we would. And so you want everybody to kind of get settled in before you bring that out. So I was looking at turkeys, and that was my original plan. Turkeys are very expensive this year, and they are rather large. So if you have a smaller family, if you want to do something different, I just thought it might be fun to rethink the Thanksgiving turkey. So what we have done, I'll just set this aside so you can see a little bit better. We have done something with Cornish game hens. I'm not sure how many people are familiar with them. Actually, another interesting history story. Hi, history lesson. You can see they're very small. I always thought this was a specific type of chicken, but actually it's just a regular chicken. It's just smaller. And so Cornish hens are not from Cornwall in England. They are actually a cross between, let's see, the Cornish and the White Plymouth Rock chickens. Now, I'm not a chicken raiser, so I don't really know a lot about the different breeds. But Cornish hens are basically a little over 2 pounds. So they're just a regular chicken. They just don't allow to grow to full growth. So usually 4 to 6 weeks, that's when they do take these chickens. They are male and female chickens, not just, even though they're called hens. They're usually frozen, so I haven't seen too many fresh ones. They are in a package frozen, so you might have to ask your butcher where to locate those. So the nice thing about Cornish hens, they cook quickly. A turkey takes sometimes, 4 to 5 hours or longer, depending on how big it is. These, from start to finish, were about an hour, a little over an hour, because we do have some glaze on there too. So a few things you need to have when you are working with Cornish hens, like you would a lot of just about any meat. It's very important to have this thermometer. So of course, we know poultry is safe to be consumed when it reaches 165 degrees internally. And when you are cooking a turkey or a chicken, a whole one, you'll want to check the thigh meat. The thigh meat takes a little bit longer to cook, the darker meat. So you'll just want to put the thermometer when you're testing. Now, I did cook these earlier, so they're certainly cooled down. But just this part of the thigh, so to get away from the bone, and you can test the temperature. And usually we cook this to about 170 degrees, so you'll know for sure that it's safe, right? Also, we put a stuffing in the bird, so a lot of people will put a stuffing in their turkey, and you'll get the recipe later as well. I used a combination of rye bread. So we have, this is called marble rye. You can pick this up just about any place. It looks very stiff because that's what you want to have if you're making your own stuffing. So you just put the oven to about 325 degrees. Put your bread in there and it dries out. You turn it over on the other side as well. Okay? And some people use different types of bread. It doesn't have to be rye bread. That's what the recipe called for. So when that's dried out and cooled off, just break it into pieces, and then you can add your other ingredients, because of course the stuffing is going to be wet to put it in the bird. You're going to fill the cavity of the hen with stuffing. Now, these look like miniature turkeys, so basically you're going to stuff the same area, but of course you're not going to have as much stuffing in there. I think it's probably about 1/4 of a cup, a little bit more than that. And to put it all the way into the cavity, to keep it from falling out, you're going to need a little bit of string, and you have to have food grade string, and just tie the legs up together to keep it in before you do put it in the oven. All right. Also, in the stuffing, you can tell a little bit what might be in there. I've chopped it all up, cooked it. There's a leek in there, which is, if you're familiar with that, it's a little bit oniony flavored, but a little milder. Chop that up. These are shiitake mushrooms, which is a member of the cremini mushroom family. It's just a little bit, kind of a nuttier flavor, and very nice to add to any kind of dressing. You're going to use some of your dry seasonings. This is thyme. Also has some parsley in there. You can use dry or fresh. And a little bit of sage. I purchased the fresh sage leaves because I think they are beautiful and it's a great smell. Of course, I don't cook that leaf like that. I use it for garnish, but I did chop up some sage and put on the hen. You can use powdered sage as well, salt and pepper. So actually it's very, very simple. And you can do those at the last minute. You don't have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get these done for an early afternoon lunch. These average about $4 to $5 a piece. So if you're having a lot of people, that can add up. But if you allow one per person, and actually that's a lot of meat too, you could have them and serve that way. So dried cranberries, dried cherries, I've even seen some other things, dried apples, so whatever recipe you use. So hopefully we'll get to taste those here in a little while. Let's see, what else I haven't said about Cornish hens. All right. The meat on the Cornish hens is usually a little more tender than a turkey, for sure, so that's another reason why they are good to use. So an hour, a little over an hour. I started at 350, we went to 425. So I'm going to get a knife and I'm going to cut one portion so you can see what it looks like inside. Okay, tongs here. And of course, you usually should have a cutting board, but I'm just going to go ahead and cut it right here so you can see what the stuffing looks like inside. Very easy to cut. Right through the breastbone there. Okay. Then you can see that the stuffing's inside, so actually is there we go. Have stuffing and the bird all together, so it makes it a very easy meal to eat. Okay. And again, if you wanted to have those, you could feed 4 people instead of 2. So I did a little bit of a port reduction, which is part of the recipe, and I have to say, I haven't made it that way before, but it was pretty tasty. So I look forward to you trying that recipe. There's less waste too with that, not all the bones. So there's a lot of good reason why you could use Cornish hen instead of turkey. This dressing recipe could be used in a turkey. It doesn't have to even be the Cornish hens, or eat dressing on its own. It really has a very nice flavor, and a vegetarian option too, served alone. So you don't have to use chicken stock. You can use vegetable stock. I've used that as well, and it turns out very well. I grew up with cornbread stuffing, so that's what I'm used to making. Okay, so there we have 2 parts of your Thanksgiving dinner already. Cost saving because you're not buying a giant turkey, which could be $50, $60, and all the other things that go with it. Cost saving for this in that maybe you already have pumpkins left over from Halloween, so you could use that to turn it into something else. The things that we use on the skewers are typically things you would have in your house anyway. Cheeses, you could put any kind of fruit on there you wanted. Very little waste there. Okay, so we have another item we're going to talk about, and we're so used to all having a pumpkin pie, but the crust is very time consuming and maybe it's kind of intimidating. You can buy a crust made, but this one's nice because it's a little different. This is called a pumpkin mousse, and let's take the plastic off here so you can see. Now this mousse was made yesterday. It was a little time consuming because you have a couple different steps, and you will find the recipe to this as well. This looks a little different. You're going to see some streaks. The consistency is a little different. A mousse means that you've added other things and blended them in. So for this recipe, you'll definitely need a whisk. You can use an electric mixer if you want. But you're going to mix in 2 items, cream and also egg whites. And so a mousse kind of sets up, you use a little gelatin. Right? This is unflavored gelatin. Comes in, I believe, 5 packets. So you use this, you put it in a little cold water and let it kind of mix together. And then you slowly, on a double boiler, slowly keep mixing it until the gelatin dissolves. And then that's what you put into another recipe to make a different consistency. You can make your own gelatin mixture. You can make pudding, again, a mousse. So all the chocolate mousses are made similarly to this. So this is a pretty inexpensive item. Calls for pumpkin, whether it's in a can or a real pumpkin, which I typically just bake my own pumpkin by cooking the one after I cut it up. So it only takes, well, I think it's about 1 1/4 cups. So you definitely have a lot left over from this. I'm going to move this out of the road here. All right. Also, you can make a dessert for, let's see, we've got at least 3 of those. We've got probably another 5 to 6 left in the bowl here. These are fun. I think I got these from some item from a store that didn't taste very good, the original ingredients, but I kept the glass container because I knew we were going to make these. Right? But the nice thing about the mousse too, you can layer it up. I'm going to use this item. I typically like to whip my own cream, but if you're in a pinch of time, and these are always on sale for Thanksgiving, so kids like to use them too, so sometimes I'll get those. So if you want your kids to help you with this, you can just do some layering. This is just a regular glass. You don't have to have any fancy dish. So, okay, I'm just gonna put a little bit of that. We'll put a little bit of cream in there. Okay, a little bit more mousse on top of that. You could put some kind of cookies in the middle too. And of course you're gonna chill these. This is a little bit soft since it's been out for a while. Okay, a little bit more. Try to make it a little bit more neat and tidy on the last bit of whipped cream here. Okay, so I'll swipe around the edge there. Here we go. You still want everything to look really good, even if it is a less expensive meal. There we go. Okay, so if you have drinking glasses, you can make a nice dessert with that as well. And then just again, put whipped cream on top of these. Here. Put a cherry on top if you want, whatever. So that's a nice dessert you can make for Thanksgiving ahead of time. And then you still have some left over as well. Okay. All right. So all of these recipes are available on the website. I hope you'll try them. Let me know what you think. So they're just some helpful ideas and some ways to save for Thanksgiving. So hopefully you'll join us for our in-person class in December, where we're talking about more holiday ideas. And we will actually make those things here in class. So thanks again for joining me, and happy Thanksgiving, everyone.